Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Green Minimalist Life. In this video today you will learn what a behavioral nudge is and how a good choice architecture can help us to make better decisions. The term nudge seems to be everyday nowadays. People are being nudged, governments are setting up nudge departments, and the term nudging is a new buzzword in marketing. But what is nudging all about? In 2010, the behavioral economists Richard Thaler and Cass Sunsteins published the bestseller book Nudge. According to the researchers, a nudge is any aspect of the choice architecture that alters people's behavior in a predictable way without forbidding any options or significantly changing the economics. In other words, a nudge can change how you present choices that make you more likely to choose one option that benefits you. So if you want to make people to make better decisions, you can do this more easily with choice architecture. Choice architecture refers to the practice of influencing choice by organizing the context in which people make decisions. Sunstein and Thaler defined 6 principles or tools for a good choice architecture. These principles should show how a good choice architecture can nudge people to make better decisions. First, incentives. When designing the choice architecture, we must think about incentives. Are choosers aware of the incentives they face? In free markets, the answer is usually yes, but in some cases, it isn't. Think about the example of members who live in an urban city, deciding whether to buy a car, when their choices are either to use a taxi or to spend $20,000 to buy a car. The only selling cost of owning this car will be the stops at the gas station, occasional repair bills, and a yearly insurance bill. So once they purchase the car, they tend to forget about the money. On the other hand, every time the family pays a taxi, the cost will be very salient or present in their head. So a behavioral analysis of the incentives of car ownership will predict that people will underweigh the opportunity costs of car ownership, and most likely other less salient aspects such as depreciation may overweigh the various selling costs of using a taxi. Second, understanding mappings. Some choices are easy to make, like choosing a flavor of ice cream, but others are a bit trickier, like choosing a medical treatment when you have cancer, for example. Think of a person who is diagnosed with cancer and his treatment options are between surgery, radiation, and doing nothing. So it is not easy to predict the possible outcomes and side effects. Comparing the options requires trade-offs between a longer life or unpleasant side effects. A good system of choice architecture helps people to improve their ability to map and hence to select options that will make them better off. One solution is to make the information about these options more comprehensible. For example, when buying apples to make it into apple cider, it can help to know the rule of thumb, like it takes 3 apples to make 1 glass of cider. Third, defaults. Humans naturally choose any options that demands the least effort. A default option is an option that will persist if the chooser doesn't do anything. Some companies have recognized the power of defaults. A prominent example is renewal of subscriptions. If you do not unsubscribe, then the subscription will continue. So defaults can be quite controversial. But there are also some good examples where mandated choice is positive, like in the example of organ donation. Some countries applied an opt-out system to organ donation, which means every citizen is automatically assigned to organ donations, unless they choose not to do so. So what was the result? In countries like Austria or Belgium, where organ donation is an opt-out approach, the donor rates were around 89 or 99%, compared to countries like Germany with 12% or Denmark with around 4%. Fourth, to give feedback. We can improve and become better when we get feedback. A good choice architecture helps people by giving feedback when they're doing well and also when they're not. A few examples here. Laptops warn users to plug in or shut down when the battery is low. Another example, which is good for the environment and also household budgets, is the ambient orb. A small ball that glows red when a customer is using lots of energy, but green when the energy use is moderate. Fifth, expect errors. We are all humans and naturally make mistakes. A good choice architecture considers this aspect of humans making errors. Consider the design of cars, which are built with nozzles for different varieties of gasoline. The nozzles for diesel fuel are too large to fit into the opening on cars that use gasoline. So it is not possible to make the mistakes of putting diesel fuel in a gasoline-powered car. Or take the example of an ATM. When you want to withdraw money, usually you need to take out the card first before you get the money. Lastly, structure complex choices. We use different strategies when making decisions depending on the complexity of the options. When we have a small number of options, it's easier for us to make trade-offs when necessary, like for example, when you have only 3 different chocolate bars to choose from. When we have a large number of options, these simple strategies don't apply easily anymore. Consider the example of a paint store. There are many ways of structuring how these paint colors are offered to the customer. Imagine, for example, that the paint colors were listed alphabetically. While alphabetical order is a good way to organize a dictionary, but it's not suitable to organize a paint store. Instead, paint stores use a paint wheel with color samples ordered by their derivation from the 3 primary colors. All the blues are together next to the greens and the reds are located near the oranges and so forth. The problem of selection is made considerably easier as customers can see the actual colors. So, this was all about the topic of nudging and the 6 principles of a good choice architecture. So thank you for watching today's video. If you want to receive more updates or want to support my channel, please do not forget to click on the subscribe button.